Yeah, Prof here. So we had to wait a little bit. Just watched a quick YouTube video. Check out Funk FPV. If you're gonna follow him for his shorts. But if you're into tools, he does actually do, because he's a working forklift mechanic, and he does actual, like, if he buys something, he actually tries using it. Which, as you guys know, for those that are followers of the channel, I really like, because it doesn't matter how good or bad or whatever something is on the spec page if you can't use it the way that it's intended or the way you want or the way they say you can. You know, so, and he always picks out some, it's not always high-end stuff. Sometimes it is. Is it worth it then to buy it, right? Well, I have something that's a little bit of a high-end today. I bought some ingestible batteries. And you're like, what do you guys mean? Well, I think I bought some. Oh, it popped open right now. Hold on here. See, I bought some headphones with my battery. And what are you guys saying? Yeah, well, no. See, I bought some earbuds with my batteries there. Make sure you don't crack them open and ingest the lithium that's inside. You should. I think I've shown them before, but you should see some of the like laptops come with giant stickers that are like this tall and like the width or like 2/3 of the width of the laptop now. Just like, this contains a CR2032 button cell battery. Don't let your child eat it. And it's like, what, are they going to fucking disassemble the laptop? Like, geez. I mean, at that point, to be truthful, I'd let them, and I'd be like, damn, let's put you to work. You know? But what did I pick up? What and why? Well, let's hit the zoom up here. Pow! I picked up Sony Inzone buds, and what this is these are comply tips. I can kind of go into why the comply tips if I grab my AirPods. Here we go. So I forget how long ago I learned about comply tips, but they've been around a hot minute. Here's my AirPods, and actually, I can grab, that's my Gen 2 AirPod Pros. Still got my Gen 1s, which are, I don't know, half or less battery. So there you go. There's my, actually my mom's still using my what is it, AirPods 2? The wireless charging ones. I think those are the 2. I did not get it till then because I don't mess with that lightning port. At least for charging. Wireless I can deal with. So in here, even go back to these comply tips. Now these are ancient because I don't know if you saw the light didn't even come on, but these spring back right away. That's because I haven't. Why would I swap tips out when they've worn out on my old worn out pair of AirPods? Oddly enough, these, not these, I didn't have these yet when I took my trip to LTX. This is what I did use. Now, I believe there's actually like a doubling or nearly a doubling in from AirPods Pro 1 to AirPods Pros 2 in battery life. I think I tested these at about an hour and a half, I want to say. Depending on what I was doing, I could get 3 hours maximum, but that was not always playing music. But back to this, like, I've used comply tips for a long time. Prior to that, when I was still using wired ones, I had Zero Audio. They're a pretty, like, they have a relatively cheap model out of Japan, I believe, but it was popular enough it was even resold on US Amazon. But They sounded decent enough, and I like having just like a pair of wired earbuds I can do. Now I use the Moondrop Chews, which have those really onion ear tips or something, spring onion, something like that. Love those ear tips, amazing. But yeah, the Zero Audios, and I don't like standard IEMs. I had some way back, like I want to say like, back when they were first popping off, and it was like, I don't want to call them IEMs. Those are just like in-ear earbuds back then. But like when a decent pair of those was like $100, I had V-Modas. Back when I want to say I had a pair prior to the first iPhone that I ran with my 5th gen iPod. And then when the iPhone came out, they came out with a newer version that had the compatible plug because they recessed the jack. And I had sold my Palm, my iPod, and I didn't really sell my cell phone. I just, but I sold at least 2, if not 3 devices to get the bigger on launch of the original iPhone. That was a bad decision. Went to BlackBerry after that. But with the Zero Audios, back when those were like rather popular, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago now. Maybe not, but it's quite a while ago. Those are what I would keep in my camera bag or my stuff like that. Because sometimes you just like you can't use Bluetooth earbuds, or you just need a wired pair to like plug in to something and get audio out of it. This is why we can't have nice things. If you see Paisley Marie, yeah, she fishes it out of my little dish I put all my keys in, and that includes my headphones. And with that little lanyard on it, she fishes it out by the lanyard. And she's also by a delay because she was laying. I cleaned off one of these 2 tables. She laid on it. Cleaned off the other one. She laid on it. That's when I just watched a little bit of YouTube. But I always had issues like with the silicone tips like sealing too much. Like some people want like the double ribbed ones that almost work better, more like earplugs and stuff like that. With my, I'm gonna say sinuses and stuff like that, it feels like almost too blocked out. I don't know that I like breathe through my ears, but I do not like the whole earplug vibe going. And the foam on the comply tips, for me at least, helps with comfort and helps with like they breathe a little bit better. Okay, the other issue that I have, and I don't know if it's mentioned on this box or not, but at least the ones I was buying for Zero Audio, the higher end ones had like wax defender. It looks like this one has something else. It's called Tech Defender instead of just being wax specifically. If you look way in there, like here, you can see the foam and it says Tech Defender, and then you can see there's like foam in there. I have super duper waxy ears. I'm just realizing now, what size are these? Assorted 3-piece. So these should be medium. Small, medium, large. I often need to use the small size. So usually when you get a new pair of headphones and you buy complies, you really should buy the assorted size. Because then, this is small, medium, large. Then you figure out which one of these you want, because these do need to be replaced. I don't know if it's 90 days that they recommend it, 2 to 3 months. Yeah, I've pushed them 4. I really have. What you want to look for there is if you squish it down to put it in your ear, and it immediately pops back up. You see, there's no delay. It's memory foam. It should sit there for a while. Now, not that this won't work. It'll just actually like force it out of your ear, or you won't be able to like get it in there correctly. The other thing I can see, look at that's all my wax. And I just look at that. I only just put, there was some already on there, and then I put it in my ear. Now, these older ones for Apple may or may not even have the wax guard. But on the Zero Audios, the ones that fit that, they did. Yeah, you got to kind of go at that with like a bit of a toothpick. I don't know if they... Let's see here. Oh, there's a screen. At one point, I don't believe it had one. This is the second gen, because a lot of people on the first gen of these Comply ones for AirPods Pro had trouble getting them on and off, or they wouldn't stay on. But you can even see here on these, like all the wax. And I did just change these. Like, for example, if we squish this, it takes a little bit to come back out. You see how it goes blah, 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 blah. So what you do is you squish it, jam it in your ear. Kind of like you would an earplug. And it just fits more comfortably because you're not fitting the size that's like jamming against your ear, stuff like that. I just find them more comfortable. Also, in-ears that used to fall out of my ears don't when I use Comply tips. So, for the if you're rocking AirPod Pros, I have had one coworker that loved them, you know, and I told him like he had AirPods and loved them because of how they fit, and I'm like, okay, if you love those, you got to try AirPod Pros. Because I really thought like, now for some people, I think David, he still doesn't like how the AirPod Pros fit. They're not for everybody in everybody's ears, but for people who really already liked standard AirPods, like I really liked my Gen 2 with charging case or whatever it was that my mom now has. I've even offered these to her before, and she had no interest. Coworker in Geek Squad loved these, and he he had the other ones, liked them. I told him, you gotta get here, try my Pros for one thing. You know, you wipe off the tip or whatever. But then you know, once he had those and I had the Comply tips, I'm like, yeah, you should try some of these because we sold them when we were working at the Best Buy. And he did. Loved them. I think he still runs them to this day. The one downside is it is like, I want to say this first 3-pack might have been, it's somewhere between $12 and $18. I'm going to say somewhere in that range. Let's say $15 on average, $16 or something like that. This first pack, unless you somehow know what size you need without ever using them, you're amazing if you can do that. This first time, you're basically paying like $15-16 to figure out which size you want. But then from there, you can buy 3 packs of the sizes, you know. Like I was by the same size for the AirPods. I don't even remember what size anymore. I'd have to look it up. But interesting. I'm getting music from the phone we're currently using to record through the AirPods while recording a video. I don't even know where the mic is on this. Interesting. I didn't know it would do that. But yeah, about those, buy the multi, like buy the different sizes. Then once you figure out what size you want, from there on, buy the other ones. Otherwise, also you can figure out if you like them or not. If you don't like them, none of the sizes fit, or you think it's worse, then obviously don't buy it every so many months. Now, I did not buy these right away. I waited about a week or two. Well, this would be week 2. So this is week 1. Now we should get back to the actual video, which is the ingestible batteries, based on the packaging. Like, basically, it's also orange. Like, yeah, that's the more important thing. Is it the Inzone or the ingestible batteries? It's definitely the ingestible batteries. How this started out is I had been looking at the UE Buds, which ended up being like the Logitech G Buds, because, and you're like, well, why would you want those over the UE ones? The Logitech G ones had a USB dongle. That is a big reason why we have the Inzone Buds and not something else from Sony. let's check here. My only other pair of Bluetooth earbuds is the Donuts. Love these. I don't have the biggest ear for these, if you look there, but it is a... Oh, this one popped out somehow. Did it start playing as well? This one didn't. So that... So kind of towards the end of my previous job and the beginning of this job, especially when I was working during the day, I love these because I could be talking to people working in office, you know, listening to music, and still have these, and people could walk up to me and I wouldn't even notice. A coworker uses them for, like, he plays like disc golf and stuff like that. You can leave them in, have some tunes going, you know, take a phone call if you really need to, but you're like pretty much wide open to the world. They did make, and these were just called Link Buds. They now call them Link Buds Open for the second gen. I have heard good things about the changes on the second one. I, however, really don't use these that often anymore, because a lot of what I end up using the AirPod Pros for is actually the noise canceling. You know, like on trips to conventions, if I'm staying with somebody who snores, I can throw them in, tune it out, and at least what I found is if I can fall asleep, even though they're snoring, I will not wake up. It's the falling asleep, and often because of my schedule, I fall asleep later than most people. You know, but these are the only other, like, besides my original set of AirPod 2 with wireless charging case, or AirPod Gen 2 or whatever they called them. And you can see here, I ran these. Basically, the only time I swapped back to these was for LTX 2023. So for years, I actually ran these as my main. You can see, I daily carried them. But then once I did LTX, I was kind of reminded how good these were. Also, like the week leading up to there, I had some work that I had to do at a farm, or at, you know, the farm I kind of do stuff at, and they had compressors and stuff going. Having the noise canceling of not the new AirPod Pro 2s, but just the original AirPod Pros. Oh my gosh, it made it like, I used to not be able to spend more than an hour there. Having noise canceling in those kind of environments where you really should probably even have like hearing protection is a godsend. And then I used these on my trip. The only thing I had to do is because my case has very good battery life, because I basically would only charge the case when it was dead. But, you know, I constantly pop the AirPods themselves in and out of the case. Paisley's on my shoulder. And you can see, by the way, I'm so bummed that I should have bought another one of these D-brand skins for the AirPods Pro. I know this one doesn't look perfect because it's been a while, but the only kind of issue this had when I put it on was that little crease right there. But because these were so hard to put on, and I have a yellow one on my original AirPods too, and I got them. You're never going to get those, like, these seams are actually closed, but it's because it just lives in my pocket all the time. But even people had so much trouble putting it on that D-Brand's like, yeah, you guys complained so much about how hard it was to put on, and we had so many returns and stuff, we eventually just stopped producing it, right? Paisley, you cannot sit on my arms. I need my arms for the video. She curled up as if she's just going to sit there the rest of the night. Like, yep, that's where I'm going to be. Yeah, so I after LTX, I basically stopped using these and switched. I wouldn't even necessarily say it, but I was appreciating these more, and then I basically said to myself, once I think the Gen 2 of these was out already, but there wasn't enough of a benefit. Then the Gen 2 USB-C dropped, and I pre-ordered them, or snatched them day one, had this case on the order. That would have been October, December, I don't know, of 2023. And then work gave me this set for free as our part of our like Christmas bonus, or like annual gift or whatever you want to call it. And awesome. So I literally went, and people at Best Buy were looking at me funny, like, why are you're returning the brand new AirPod Pros? Like, what's wrong with them? I'm like, literally nothing. I've had them like a week or less than. I think it was 3 days after I got them in, like after they shipped in, or I picked them up. And we got the ones from work, and they aren't the USB-C ones, but hey, I am not turning down free AirPod Pros, and I'm not gonna be like, I'm gonna turn down my free AirPod Pros just because I don't have USB-C. And they are like under this case, they are actually like engraved or etched, or like they're personalized for the company. Obviously, throw a case on that, you never know. Also, I can see why they didn't get the USB-C. People are like, oh, well, if the USB-C came out, I didn't get that. Because there's no way they could have had this personalized or like branded and stuff like that in time for when this was in retrospect to when they came out. Like, there's just no way. So some of the big updates for the AirPod Pro 2s, I sadly don't get with these because they're just the Lightning. Some of the stuff is exclusive to the USB-C version for whatever reason. Now let's get us back to Inzone buds. They made a USB dongle compatible variant of the Link buds that I was considering picking up. But why I ended up not doing that is I turned out, once I was off of day, I did not take that many support calls. Like as in during when I was initially doing my like, when you want to say like your not onboarding period, but your, I don't know, the thing those federal employees got fired from. You're like first 90 days, right? I was doing during the day because I was the only person at night. So they had to train me during the day, and then I eventually switched to night shift. But once I was out of that like everyday thing, I didn't take support calls like at all. Whereas during the day, I did all the time. These were just basically in my ears all the day. I just play music, pick them up for the phone call, etc. Once I was, not working the normal shift or not doing like phone support, basically, I still carried these, like I said, for years. Literally years. I carried them, but they didn't get used in that same way. And you're like, why USB? Well, it turns out that Bluetooth is shit for mic specifically. It's pretty good nowadays for, especially if you can use like aptX or LDAC, and a bunch of other stuff. Sadly, the Link buds, original Link buds, do not have that. They just do SBC, AAC, I believe. May do more now with firmware update because they do like Bluetooth. These I thought were dead. Also, the coworker that uses them, he also thought his died. Turned out, Squeers told me, what you need to do is you need to just charge them for an ungodly amount of time. I want to say I had these on charge on my big Charge 140 watt USB-C charger for like, normally it's like if you charge these, they're going to be charged like, look at mostly charged in like a half or probably fully charged in an hour for like any of these, even this normally. I woke up, went to sleep, still on orange. Left it there for like another 8 hours, still on orange. Was about to unplug it. I'm like, no. Screws. It was more than 18 hours that these had to be plugged in, and then they went green, and they worked beautifully. Also, they picked up, and I don't know if it's the same firmware the LinkBuds Open have, but they now have multi-point Bluetooth, so you can have it hooked up to your phone and your laptop at the same time. It'll play without whichever audio. Like, if something else plays notification, it'll pick it up and play it out of it. Like, I don't know if they gained any new codecs with this firmware update, but the firmware update, I'm sitting on the couch because I finally got to work and I got it paired up, and it just... also, without the app even, my Pixel 9 Pro supports it. Like, you can download the app for even more, but, like, you can pull battery and even do some basic stuff to these just, like, through the effective... Like, it's still going to be a driver because it's Android, but, like, just picked it up, installed, updated. It took 30 minutes to do the firmware update. That's how big the firmware update was for these. Yeah, I got them working again. So like if you ever have issues with your fully wireless earbuds,
that are either a Samsung or a Sony, you just gotta leave them in for frickin' ever. And they'll revive. I will admit that is one thing I've never had a problem with Apple. If I toss this on, and I will do it right now, onto my wireless charger over here, Qi charger, it's already charging. Like, Apple knows how to do batteries, as much as people give them crap for it. And as much as these are effectively disposable if you use them every day for extended periods of time, but basically all fully wireless earbuds are like that, right? Oh, something else I forgot to get to with the comply tips on the AirPods Pro. Mooski, who's been on the channel before, he got himself a pair of AirPods Pro. After having issues, I don't remember if it was a Sony or a Samsung set or just some cheap set, and I was like, for the most part, like, if you just want like a pair that always works, is always charged, and just works, and I think he normally uses an iPhone anyway, I'm like, just go get AirPods. I know there's a price premium on there nowadays, but there's a reason why they're the industry standard. He ended up getting them. He tried some comply tips, and he's like, I hate it. These were better with the normal tips. I'm like, cool. So just don't buy more tips. I think I might have given him, like, because I had the originals of my, once I had figured out what size I needed for the AirPods, and I had the other two sizes that I gave him or something. Yeah, so he did not like the comply tips on the AirPods Pro. He felt they were better with the normal tips. Well, we'll find out if that's the case here with the Sony Inzone buds. We get back to why we got this, okay? I was looking at the Link buds because they eventually came out with a USB dongle. Before they came out with a USB dongle, or around the same time, because Bluetooth is such a bag of shit in Windows, they're working on it. Bluetooth LE support, I don't know if it was coming in 2024 or 24H2. Windows 11, it might be 25H2, but Windows is slated to get Bluetooth LE support, which should help a lot with this, because they already have Bluetooth that supports it. Like any of the Wi-Fi 6A chipsets, like the AX200, maybe not 200, the 210 for sure, because that's 6A. That'll have a certain level of 5 point whatever Bluetooth. Even the AX200 probably supports it, to be truthful. Then they got the BE200 with the Wi-Fi 7 and stuff. PCs have been able to do like very high-end Bluetooth for the longest time. It's just, it hasn't been implemented on this end. And they're not going to implement like actually accessing those features in software if there's not hardware that supports it, right? Supposedly these have Bluetooth LE support. The AirPods 2. It's not in there right now, but the hardware theoretically has Bluetooth LE support. And specifically, what you need is Bluetooth LE with LE audio support. LE audio support, which is like a subset of Bluetooth LE, right? That's what gives you this massive, look at that, 12 hours plus 12 hours in the case, right? I think AirPods are, like, these ones are, what, just under 6 hours with 24 hours in the case, maybe, or something around there like that. But 12 hours in the buds is nutty. And that has something to do with the Bluetooth LE, because it's the low energy. Bluetooth LE is low energy. The LE audio, and here you go. Here's how I can get into it with this. But until Windows supports that properly, and basically when these got USB, the Logitech or the UE buds were Bluetooth, but then they came out with a Logitech gaming version, like a Logitech G Buds version that had a dongle, right? That's huge, because that way, kind of like why I like these guys, right? I'm also picked them up because I had some money from work from a different one of our things where they give us I think I got some GameStop gift cards. We could choose what they were for. Like some people could get restaurants or what do you want to call that shit? Not apartments. Hotels, that sort of stuff. I chose GameStop because I'm but it just has a USB. That can do Bluetooth, but for PC and PlayStation compatibility, you just plug in this USB and you're like, what's that dot? Well, I have the second one. I actually managed to get paired, and I want to know which one's the first and which one's the second. So I just put a 1 white dot on the first one and 2 white dots on the second one. Man, was that a bitch to get it paired. But plug this in. Windows recognizes it as a headset. It does not need a driver. And it just switches to it as a communication device. Boom. That is why you actually want USB. If you look at any of the Plantronics headsets that you get for work environments, and I like call them Poly because Poly and Plantronics merged and they adopted the Poly name. Please explain that one to me. I know Plantronics. I had never heard of Poly before. Maybe I'm the crazy person. You know, just could be the different industry I'm in. But all of those always used like a dock, hardwired USB into your PC, and then like hardwired into your desk phone to get the phone working, you know, like through your desk phone. And it would actually, like, there would be a piece of software that then helped it interface with your communication thing. Like, we used to use, what was it? It's Cisco Jabber, right? That was what worked with our Cisco phone system and shit like that, right? Now we use Teams. So even the kind of cool thing about, like, the Link Buds was that they were Teams certified, actually, with the USB dongle. So they would just work right out of the box, instantly communication device. I was interested in the what were they eventually? They're like the Logi Buds, but they were so freaking expensive. I want to say they were like $250 or something. Maybe they were only $200. But recently I noticed the price went down. It turns out that's because they were discontinuing them. And theoretically, the issue with the mic on a lot of these Bluetooth devices is that it's ass because it's Bluetooth. Because it's having to use the Bluetooth phone call. I think it's like Bluetooth telephony. Basically, the mic part and the phone call part, not the media part, but the mic, like the phone call part, which is what's used for, like it's called like AG handset when you have your AirPods hooked up to PC. That has been the same since like Bluetooth 2, right? That's why, like, if you ever take a phone call in your car and your car has a handset mode, it sounds like ass, no matter what you do. A lot of people are like, oh, it's because of the, like, noise canceling stuff. Yeah, that's a bit of it because they're super compressing it. But the other thing is, if you look at the number of kilobits, like, when you pair this in, like, Bluetooth handset mode, and that's why if you ever have this and you use the mic on AirPods, it defaults to the handset audio as well when you're using the mic, and everything just sounds like garbage. That's because the bitrate is just so poor. So theoretically, you can get around that with a USB dongle, like I just showed you for the Sony headset, right? And you could get Link Buds with that, but then I didn't use this style because I didn't need to leave them in my ear all day, right? So I didn't really need the open ones. And then also I started to find at work, and this was more once my shift changed, but like, man, it can get rowdy. The super openness sometimes on calls like is bad, like real bad. So once again, we get back to the AirPods Pro, where it's super nice to be able to toggle forward. Normally I leave them in fully ambient open pass-through mode, but when you need to flip it into that noise canceling, super duper appreciative. Well, more and more recently, I've been having to take more calls. And I wouldn't say calls with customers, more like internal meetings and that sort of stuff. Now, normally, I don't have it here, but I just have a mod mic wireless. And I pair that with my DAC amp and my, like whatever pair of headphones I'm using. At work, it's the M1STs. At home, it's the MV1s. Because I can do open back at home. At work, I want the closed back because of the noise of the office, right? And I ended up going to mod mic once again. Why do we do mod mic? The wireless one, it has USB, and though it uses Bluetooth, it uses aptX, and it actually reverse uses aptX, as in the microphone part of aptX. You know, because aptX is only a listening codec for Bluetooth, right? Well, if you flip it the other way, so they actually have the microphone as the headset, and it's supposed to be sent audio to the headset, right, from the PC, but in this case, they're actually using it just as a audio link, and the headset portion is actually the mic, and they're actually sending music, like audio back that way. So it's like they're using the aptX codec. It's Bluetooth, but it's using aptX the wrong way. And it's just a USB. So I plug that in. I tell it that's my mic. Anytime I plug that in, it switches that from, say, like the mic built in my webcam or my laptop or whatever it is. That works great when I'm at my desk because I use wired headphones there, right? More and more I've been having to do like grab my laptop, go into either a meeting room, or we have like these little cubbies to take, like standalone calls if it's like super rowdy. There's been lots of stuff going on with work, mergers and acquisitions, and yeah, tee-hee literally, but tee-hee haha. So then I've been using my Moondrop Chews. Now, one fix to this, because Moondrop Chew cords are only so long, right? It's really meant to hit a smartphone in your pocket, right? I could just get an extension, get a 4-pole, and I still might get a 4-pole, 3.5 millimeter extension. Because one thing, like, you're like, why do you have Moondrop Chews if you got all these wireless headphones? Because getting Bluetooth, okay, if this is normally paired, this is the big thing that Apple does right. If this is paired to my phone, my Android phone, if I flip this open, plug it in my ears, what does it do? It automatically connects to the last device, which is this device. Now, what happens, and I did do that with these when I worked at my previous job, you have to switch this to your laptop. So then what you need to do is actually hit connect on the laptop, right? But then the next time you want to use it with your phone, and your laptop's not even on, and you flip these open, put them in your ears, they're not connected to your phone. You have to manually connect them to your phone. Managing that blows. And when you need to just like hop on a call or especially somebody higher up, you need to like, hey, I'm going to give you a call, or we need to have a call, blah, blah, blah. I find it way more reliable. You got a headphone jack on your work laptop. ThinkPads still have them. You just grab your wired earbuds, you plug them in, it works. Turns out those mics too generally sound pretty good because they put the mic like right below your chin, like it's on the cable, on a cord that's attached to your ear, that's going past your head. It's at the correct height. They can just make sure it's not like these guys that are like at your ears, however far away, right? That's why the mod mic also sounds so good wirelessly. Besides it being Bluetooth, it's on a boom. It's attached to your thing. It's putting it in front of your mouth. You know what I mean? And then even though those mics, like people are like, oh, but like my wireless Bluetooth mic doesn't sound good, and that mic looks exactly the same. It turns out it's just Bluetooth holding it back. Dank Pods has shown that a number of times. Now, this guy I do not agree with. Like, a lot of people say the mic on this sounds shit. I may or may not have a video on it. One thing we did find, though, when using this on PC, I haven't firmware updated it because you need a PS5 to firmware update it. I may have to bum one of the guys at work who does have a PS5, like, hey, can you plug this in and my dongle? But what about my second dongle? Does the headphone just update, or does the dongle update? Me explaining to them how to get it to switch dongles? Oh, God. One thing I have found that fixes it, though, it's because it has auto gain in the headset. Also, when DankPods did his video, he had it 100% on the mic right out of the gate. And what that seems to be is this boom mic actually pulls out. The 100% might be good if you never pull it out, and maybe they want it to work if people don't do that. But if you do pull it out and put it in front of your mouth, you need to turn it down quite substantially. I want to say I was at like 65% or something. I might be wrong. It might be 85%. But either way, you have to turn it down substantially. Otherwise, you peak the living crap out of this poor little mic. The other thing we get is there must be some sort of auto gain on it, like in the headset itself. If I start talking from being quiet after, like, say in a meeting, I'm just listening to people, and I start talking out of nowhere, like oh yeah, blah, blah, that'll come through at like 3 billion% volume, and like pops in. So what I found is what I have to do is when I do use those Sony ones with that USB, and this might have been fixed in firmware update. Like I said, I do not have a PS5 to do it. I actually have to just do a snap before I start talking. Because that gets the mic to realize, because I don't know if it just keeps on increasing gain because it doesn't hear anything, right? And then I talk and it's like, wow, that's way too loud. Let's bring it back down. Well, if I just snap, that's already something decent. And I snap like right into it. Muted in the actual program, whatever I'm using, but that'll fix it. And I won't pop in, like come in like a pop in. you know, when I start talking. But if you adjust the volume correctly, you know, normally I shoot for a -15. You definitely don't want to shoot for any more than a -12. You're going to be peaking then. Normally I do -15 so that when I get excited, you know, like oh dang it, God, you know, like you start doing stuff like that, and then you'll hit -12 when you're amped up a little bit. If you want to hit the like now normally for chat like in like Teams and stuff, you might want to aim for a -12 with normal volumes and just don't get excited, you know. Same thing with Discord. But with this, I'm using this wired headset. I can only be so far away from the laptop with the Moondrop 2. They do not have a long headphone. It is enough to get to your pocket, and that is about it, which means a laptop right in front of you in a little cubicle or at a table is fine. But even then, like, you know, like if it's further back on the laptop or something like that, it's too short. It's just too short of a cable. Now, I could get an extension, like I said, but really I have, you know, for a long time been looking for a pair of fully wireless earbuds. And that have a USB receiver, right? When we talked about link buds, what was weird, I think, with these is it uses the same case and it just gives you a USB receiver, but with no place to put it. It's kind of weird. By the way, it should be noted that these are tiny. That was the other thing I liked about these link buds case is I do think Apple has the correct idea. Slender and a little bit bigger is better than like more like a pebble and bulbous. This does not fit into your pocket as nicely as this, but it is smaller. However, you give up wireless charging, which is like normally I just take these in my pocket, chuck them down. Like if I know they're low on battery, or technically these guys, especially now that they have MagSafe, and I just have a MagSafe charger next to my keys, charge various things that can use either wireless or MagSafe. When I know they're low or they're showing red, I just bloop, throw it on there. Or if I know I'm going to have like a big day tomorrow, have to travel a lot, or have to be in a, not like meetings per se, but like say if I'm like doing healthcare shit and I know I'm going to be sitting in a waiting room a while, I'll make sure they're charged up. These guys are wireless, I believe. Wireless charging? No? No, these aren't, apparently. I guess I never checked. I just charged them via USB. Not a huge deal because I don't plan to daily them. So I have finally found with these Inzone buds, we're convoluting a bunch of stories here, but basically I have wanted fully wireless buds that have a USB receiver. I remembered that these had a partner pair that was fully wireless. However, that USB dongle didn't work with them. Like it only worked with the I think that's part of the reason why the USB dongle. Also, it's impossible to pair. I mean, I shouldn't say impossible. I managed, but it took me over a half hour, or 20 to 35 minutes or something. I have a whole video about that. Pain in the ass. These are super freaking easy to pair. Sony, you know what you're doing. It's like you made these and these paired fine, and then you made a completely different fucking product that just was illogical. So I remembered that those are the Pulse Wireless Elites. I remember there was Pulse Fully Wireless Elites or something they're called, right? But I kind of remember they were kind of shit. Read reviews on it, they're kind of shit. But then what people said was, hey, have you tried the Inzone buds? And I'm like, those might work even better because they're not even PS5. Like, yes, they work with PS5, but this is actually intended, the Inzone line from Sony is intended to be their like PC gaming line. Now, do not ask me why Sony needs, like, all their Inzone monitors look like their PS5s. Like, can't you just use the PlayStation line, or can't the Inzone line be a line of accessories for the PlayStation that also works on PCs? Like, why do you need two competing lines of products that are effectively the same thing? That's a dumb thing to ask Japan and Sony, though, because when it comes to, like, say, digital streaming music services, I want to say in Japan alone, from what I recall, Sony had up to 8 competing services at the same time for digital music purchasing and or streaming services. And then what they do is they're like, hey, we'll let them all run at the same time. A little bit different thing for different people. But what they don't do is, like, U.S. brands would, like, say with our cars, we make like one model car, and then we like tier rebrand it as like 5 different. Like, it's a Cadillac, it's a Chevy, it's a GMC, it was a Plymouth, it was a Pontiac, all that shit, right? Japan's like, no, 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 no. They all need their own different back end. So that's where all the cost comes in. But then eventually what happens is they all duke it out, even though it's all owned by the same monolithic giant company. And basically they make the different parts of the company fight each other. And then whoever wins comes out on top. They pick the best, however many of them. I think there's still 3, because there's Mora. But the Mora Qualitas, which was their streaming service, that got canceled. Then there was Ototoi. That's another one where you buy them. They had a streaming service, but you could only stream the things you bought on Ototoi, but it was still a monthly service, which people were like, what the fuck? I purchased it. Why would I stream it? Why would I pay to stream it? That's also canceled. So both of those now just sell music again. They just sell it. They don't stream it, from what I recall. But they were like, all of these are Sony, because remember, Sony basically owns the music industry, especially in Japan. Seems like they're doing the same thing here. Is basically they're making the Sony like, this is the Sony not professional brand, like the consumer Sony fight with PlayStation, who is fighting with Inzone buds. Now, it does seem like now the Inzone brand is like on the consumer side, because the PlayStation headphones were like their own entire thing. These use the same drivers as the XM5. That is this little case guy right here, right? And what I mean by XM5, that's like the 1000 XM5. So the 1000 is their highest line. You've probably heard of like the XM5s or XM4s when it comes to over-ear. They also have in-ear, and those used to be massive. Well, they're not massive anymore, because they realized, like, hey, even though they sound better than the AirPods, people actually prefer the convenience of AirPods over these big bulky things that are massive and hang out of your ear. So the Inzone buds actually came out right around the same time as the XM5s, if not at the same time. And they use the same drivers. So if we pop this open, and we're going to zoom on into a tier 5 zoom here, what do we find right in the middle? We found a Type-C. Oh, we found a Type-C USB receiver with a switch that goes from PC to PS5. Plug this in, these just work. Now, out of the gate, I did have to pair it with the receiver. It's kind of a little annoying. But you want to know how easy it is? Because this is made by their consumer brand. What do the Link buds have on the back? They have a button that puts them in pairing mode. What do the Inzone buds have on the back? A button that puts it in pairing mode. So what you did is you just plug this into your computer, like the little dongle. It'd be blinking a color saying, I'm not paired. You hold the button on the back, put this in pairing mode, plug the USB in, and it just pairs. The PlayStation line of headphones could really use these guys' help, because that took me like a minute and a half or less to do, rather than 20 to 35 minutes to get the dongle synced. And what dongle am I on? And how do I switch dongles? Oh, we keep switching to Bluetooth. Oh, wait, the pairing is longer than the power off, which means if you don't hold it and release it just right, you actually just turn the headphones off instead of pairing it. No, there's just a fucking button. You press it and you hold it, and the blinky light goes blinky blinky, and then it pairs. Genius. What we can say is, because these use the XM5 driver, is because the like the XM4s and all the 1000 XMs before them are known for always being good sounding. Maybe not like the best ever wireless in-ear, but like generally, for the longest time, until some of the audiophile brands came up with them, they would be generally considered like a better sounding than an AirPod, right? So these sound quite good, actually. I would say better than AirPods. They do still sound like fully wireless IEMs. There is still a distinct sound to a fully wireless IEM. And if you've never had a pair, I mean, I've had multiple. You see multiple on the desk right now. The Link Buds kind of don't count because they have holes in their speakers, right? But I've even tried even just like fully wireless over ear, and those still have a sort of zest to them because you're still using Bluetooth. Especially these ones that have noise canceling still have some sort of like noise processing, and they all kind of, it's not like having a wire. That's part of the reason why the Moondrop Chews for like the $18 it costs, I think, for the Chew ones with like a wire, but they sound amazing because like you got a wire. You're not having to worry about Bluetooth protocols. You're not having to worry about like what wireless chipset the little earbuds have in them, all that sort of stuff, you know. But technically speaking, these are quite impressive, and I'm probably keeping them. These I did buy thinking like, if they don't fit my ears, because like I traditionally do not like how IEMs fit my ears. If we go to like a traditional in-ear, the Zero Audios are fine because they're actually smaller than the tips they had. They're tiny, super lightweight. But you know, like a lot of people would pick these up instead of the Chews. The Sal Notes Zero Mecha 7 somethings. These were, I think, Critical helped make them, and they're super lightweight. But like this whole, like, do you see how deep this plug is? And it's like thick because this goes in your ear like quite a bit. You know, like your ear's here. You can see wax move from my ear like there. You know, and this whole big bulky thing is like sitting in your cochlea or whatever, like in your ear parts, right? So if this is sitting in your ear, just imagine how deep that is jammed in there. That's one reason why I could use the AirPods Pros, because though it had a tip, it kind of just sits in your ear. Like that seals the thing. It's not like an earplug style. And so I do have some traditional IEMs. I do have some like the Zero Audio, the classic like bullet style, just in-ear earbuds style, right? And I didn't know until these got here, because I literally knew nothing about them. They came out, I want to say October, you know, for holiday season last year, so it'd be like October of 2024. So they're pretty new. They reviewed well though, because of the fact that they have the XM5 drivers in them. The other thing on here is, we talked about the LE audio, right? Now that is a bit of a downside as well, because these specifically, probably not to compete too much, because if you notice, it's the WF G700, and they're not the 1000s, right? They use the same drivers, but they did gimp them a little bit. So they do have, with XM5s do not have, they have their little USB dongle, which is why I bought them. I will never move it over to PS5. It looks like that's PS5/mobile mode. Maybe I will do it if I use it on my phone. But theoretically, once the what is it? It's the Android 16 beta. I think the Pixel 9 series gets Bluetooth LE support. The hardware already supports it. It's just not like in the software. And then Android 15, the update that's coming out in February for the S25, S24 Ultra. S23 was the previous year. Let's ask my watch. What Ultra phone just came out from Samsung? S25 Ultra. Yeah. So my mom has the S24. That seemed to come out in less than a year. I might be wrong. But that one is getting it this month, because apparently Samsung phones get software from Google before the Google phones. Also, it's weird that the Google phone, like the Pixel 9, has to wait until the beta version of the next version of Android to get Bluetooth LE support, whereas the Samsung phone is getting it in the current version of Android. Now, Samsung often runs one version of Android behind Google. Maybe that's why. Now, when the advanced like circle on screen Gemini features came out and stuff like that, Google actually launched that. I remember on the S24 Ultra. My mom got that right when and I'm like, dang, you got features that I don't have on the bleeding edge Pixel phone. You know what I mean? Super weird that they do that, but I mean, like half of, at least during the S24, I didn't watch the S25 keynote. Half of Samsung's keynote was actually Google's keynote. So I think that they've just addressed that, like, hey, Samsung is so much of our device market, like it's such a high percentage that we just need to treat them like they are in a way Android for a lot of people. So we need to treat them as such, you know. Kind of annoying. What the reason why the LE Audio is important is this only has LC3 codec. Only has LC3 codec. Which means you use the dongle, or your device better have LC3, which is Bluetooth LE, LE audio support with the LC3 codec. Now, generally speaking, nowadays, if you say LE audio, you mean the LC3 codec, right? Here's the thing, though. This LE audio and LC3 codec is almost, I ranted about it in another video a little bit. It's very, very similar to what's happened with Wi-Fi 7. We have had hardware with Wi-Fi 6E, which is 6 gigahertz support, and then Wi-Fi 7, also 6 gigahertz support for like a long time. Also, even when the Wi-Fi 7 devices came out, at least when the Wi-Fi 6E devices came out, they like mostly worked. Now in Windows, you could have had like an AX210, which was, 6E, but that didn't actually work till Windows 11 23H2, and it was out well before then. But at least your access points for 6E would have worked, even though your phone couldn't have connected to it, probably. Very weird. And even when, like, say, the first Wi-Fi 7 access point that came out, I think they're like 250, maybe less, from Ubiquiti came out, you had to update the firmware because the like release firmware didn't launch on them. Also, when they shipped, the compatible version of Ubiquiti's control console wasn't available that was compatible with the required version of the firmware you had to use Wi-Fi 7. It was a shit show, but that wasn't even a thing. Like, the first device, like the S24 Ultra, shipped with Wi-Fi 7. There were Pixel devices that had Wi-Fi 7 chipsets in them, and 6E chipsets that couldn't connect to 6 gigahertz. When once again, the Samsungs got support for this before the Pixels did. Now, I don't know if that's because, like, they use different, like, Wi-Fi. Well, the Wi-Fi and cellular chipsets are, like, Wi-Fi, cellular, Bluetooth are kind of, like, one and the same usually now. Or, like, a package deal on smartphones, just kind of like how Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on PCs now are a package deal. But it was a shit show with Wi-Fi 7. Where, like, you could have the hardware, but not even the firmware support for the hardware, much less the operating system support. So, like, you may have the firmware support now for the hardware, but if you're not on 24H2 Windows 11, Windows can't do Wi-Fi 7. It can't. It just flat out can't do it. You might be able to get onto 6 gigahertz. Even that's going to be rocky. Because they only added support in those in the latest versions of the OS. There are reasons behind that. But I can tell you, like, my Pixel 7 Pro and even this 9 Pro, once I got the Wi-Fi 7, I'm like, oh, I at least can get Wi-Fi 6E on these devices, or on my 7 Pro, and then I transitioned to my 9 Pro, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, or maybe it'll be better because 9 Pro actually has Wi-Fi 7 support. So it'll have even better 6 gigahertz support. Wrong. Like, I can be less than a room away with the Pixel 7 Pro, I don't have it anymore because I traded in for the 9. And it would drop 6 gigahertz. Also, the performance on 6 gigahertz, back when like I had first gotten Wi-Fi 7, and I believe the 7 Pro at least was enabled for Wi-Fi 6E and 6 gigahertz, it would have worse performance on the 6 gigahertz channel than it would on the 5 gigahertz channel running Wi-Fi, just flat out Wi-Fi 6. Which is like, that's not how it's supposed to be. So I eventually programmed in my 5 gigahertz because once I went to the newer Ubiquiti stuff, I actually split it up where I have dedicated like 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, and 6 gigahertz, especially because a lot of things that have 2.4 and 5, they'll fall back from 5 to 2.4 because they worry more about signal strength than they do speed. But a lot of times for me, a slightly degraded 5 gigahertz signal is still a heckin' lot faster than any stupid strength 2.4 gigahertz signal. Like, it's just how it is. You know what I mean? And then the same thing kind of sort of happens with 6 gigahertz. But now, if I didn't have to swipe out of my camera here, I could tell you that we are right now on my 6 gigahertz channel. It was like, so it wasn't even, it might have been firmware on there, but suddenly out of nowhere, the Pixel 9 Pro had the same issues as the 7 Pro. That to me proves it's software, not hardware, right? Or at least firmware. But then out of nowhere, my mom's S24 Ultra never had issues with 6 gigahertz, much less, and it even did Wi-Fi 7. It actually had Wi-Fi 7 support before my APs had the firmware for Wi-Fi 7. Crazy. And Apple still has issues with Wi-Fi 7. I've noticed on her latest, because we did buy her a new iPad, the one with the M4 in it, the Pro whatever, because she had the first one with the USB-C ports. I think that's the 3rd gen Pro. And the battery on that thing was getting, whew. And then I believe this year when the new iPad, like it had its last iPad OS update, like it was cut off, like it didn't get, or either it got this last one and they said it won't get a new one, or that was its last one. I forget which, but either way, she's like, I probably need to start looking. We found, you know, like the M4 one came out, it checked all of her boxes. We found one in stock. We got an amazing deal, like through Best Buy for trade-in, actually more through Best Buy for trade-in than through Apple. Turns out with their Total Tech thing, or whatever they call it now, Best Buy Total, they keep rebranding that, you actually get additional trade-in value. And then you also get money off, and you get free Apple Care with it. So like that purchase alone paid for more than, with the additional trade-in value and the money off, was more than the plan was for us, just that one thing. So we got that, but the iPad Pro still, when resuming from like off, like if you click the thing and it's sleeping, now if you just used it, it's fine because it's still on Wi-Fi. But if it goes like into a deeper off mode, like I'm sure, like if it's been off for like, I don't know, like a couple days, like she hasn't used it just because it happens, right? She's either using the TV instead, doesn't use the tablet, uses her phone. Like sometimes it just happens where like sometimes I don't even turn the desktop on, which back in high school I would have been like, what the fuck? Not just always leaving it on and always on it. Like go a day without using it when you're actually at home. Sometimes I just come home from work and I'm just exhausted. And I'm just like, I'll just use the laptop. It does help. I have the server I can remote in. Just, it doesn't need to be on really unless I'm using it. Because the server's just doing things. But it'll actually not auto reconnect at times to the 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which I've never had a problem with 2.4 or 5 with it. And because it'll just be like, oh yeah, I don't have a network connection. Then you go to settings, you hit check for Wi-Fi things, and it's like, oh yeah, there's the Wi-Fi. Let's connect to it. Very weird. So that's the same sort of shit. That big rant I just had is the same sort of shit that we're dealing with right now for LE audio, and Bluetooth. Well, technically, everybody has had Bluetooth LE. Let's ask the Google on the watch. When did Bluetooth LE come out?
2010.
There you go, 2010 with version 4. When did Bluetooth LE audio come out?
January 2020.
There you go. So LE audio has had okay, 2010 Bluetooth LE has been out. LE audio was added to the Bluetooth standard in 2020. It's now 2025. These came out in 2024, right? And this has the LC3 codec. I think part of the issue with the LE audio was it didn't have, and I might be wrong there. Let's ask. When did the LC3 Bluetooth audio codec come out? Okay, so apparently it came out in standardization in 2019. 2022, they certified it as Japan Audio Society certified LC3 Plus as high-res audio. So it sounds like it might have been cooking for a while. But it took until 2022 for it to actually be like, hey, this is like basically LC3 going forward. As long as you check all the boxes, like you have Bluetooth LE, it has LE audio support, and it supports the LC3 codec, that's what you should be using. No, there shouldn't be any more of this like LDAC, Sony proprietary stuff, or aptX HD, bloody. LC3 should be the new standard. It should be replacing SBC, which is the Android standard, and AAC, which is the Apple standard. AAC, which is on the AirPods, has always worked like because natively they're SBC. So unless you're playing back AAC content directly, it's got to transcode it. Now that happens with either your phone or the in the hardware itself. But still, it kind of added to the poopiness of because like Android does not support native AAC output because they don't want to pay for it. Because why would they? They just use other stuff, right? But that's the issue we're getting into here. This, unlike the XM5s, these Inzone buds only have LE audio support, right? Which means that until I get updated Android, I have to use them with the dongle, even if I want to use them with my phone. Now, I didn't buy these to use with my phone. These are always in my pocket, right? Because of the wireless charge, like convenience of AirPods is still king. But having these, like the Link Buds now, having their firmware updated and like some of the software just being, and their controls being integrated straight into Android, I can see why. And I've used these on iPhone. I have an iPhone. I have to use it to the firmware updates. But I really don't use it much on there. But with this firmware updating and now being like directly integrated in Android, I'm like, God dang, Apple, if you would just add that support to these, you could, like if you thought you were already crushing the wireless buds market, like us Android and Windows users are just putting up with these, basically, because from a convenience, a charging, a battery perspective, and like a reliability perspective, they're still where it's at. Because like even these, like I said, I left them for a couple months to later on a couple years, but they were like, I'd revive them. I have never had to do that with AirPods, no matter how old. Something about like battery tech, reliability, etc. Like a coworker that has these too, his were in the same state as mine, and I told him to try bringing them back because he had left them for like 8 hours before, and the buds would not come back. Apparently it's 18 plus. And out of nowhere, green. But yeah, so like the earbuds now are in the same place. A lot of our tech, if you're wondering, is in the same place as Wi-Fi 7 with the Bluetooth LE audio and LC3. Like people have had Bluetooth LE since 4.0. LE audio has been a thing since 2020. Not all that long, but they didn't have the codec. Well, apparently they did in 2019, but it wasn't like actually used till 2022. Like it's all been kind of building up. If you're wondering, the same thing happened with like Windows Vista, for example, which happened then with Windows 8, which now is happening with Windows 11, where there's hardware cutoffs and things where it's like, really, if you want the best experience, you need all new stuff, because They can't back patch this, like hardware support and stuff like that. Like you need, in the case of Vista, you need a DirectX 10. You wanted at minimum 4 gigs of RAM because it was a 64-bit operating system, like native, maybe not native 64-bit operating system, but like it wasn't like XP 64-bit really wasn't XP, guys. That was like Windows Server, and like stuff wasn't built for it. But like, you know, like if you wanted, like you wanted 4, ideally 8 gigs of RAM with a Vista machine with a DirectX 10 graphics card, which meant an 8000 series, which just came out. I had an 8800 GTS. I think I started out with 4 and then upgraded later on to 8 gigs of RAM. And there's some other stuff that you like that you wanted around that whole thing. If you actually met those specs though, and you had all of this stuff, like people that say Vista ran like shit, probably running it on their Windows XP computer they bought prior to Vista launching. As somebody who built a system for Windows Vista and like Crysis, I didn't really play much, but Hellgate London, yeah, Hellgate London, that was actually multi-thread. They had separate EXEs. They had 32-bit EXEs, 64-bit EXEs, multi-threaded, not multi-threaded, DX9, DX10, and every combination of all of those. I don't think it was all, because that would be 3 to the 9, I believe, 3 to 3rd, or 3 to the 2nd. Yeah, 3 to the 2nd would be 9. I think they only did 6. But they had 6 different EXEs to launch the game, and you had to choose the one you wanted. We didn't have the stuff like we do nowadays, where it just like picks like the correct one of the EXEs to run. But I could run with my build multi-core, because I had a Core 2 Duo with 2 real cores, and I could run 64-bit and DirectX 10. Even when it came back later as Hellgate, what was it, Hellgate Online, Hellgate... I think it came back twice, actually. Love that game, though. They only brought it back with, like, DX9 32-bit, maybe multi-threaded. I don't remember, but it, like... Because it, like, reverted, like, apparently when they bought the game, they bought it, like, on its release copy, not its end copy. And a lot of development, even an entire expansion, which was never released, was made in that. I don't think the expansion was ever released at all. I might be wrong there. You guys correct me if you're Hellgate London fans. The one of you out there, peg leg goated. Let's just put it that way. Build an armor build, not a like an armor based tank build, not a defense based tank build. OP, because I never patched the online one that was run by the Chinese company later on. But like right now, if I wanted to use these with my phone without the dongle, impossible, because I don't have a new enough version of Android, because they have literally not patched the ability to do this in. Whereas if you have the XM5s, they have, I think they have like LDAC, AppDex, you name it, it's all in there, right? SBC, obviously, probably AAC to work with Apple. Maybe not, but you know, like they have way more Bluetooth codecs. It's literally on the page. These though, so like if you wanted to use these with a Windows PC without the dongle, nope, not right now. I believe it's coming in the next version of Windows, but currently not a thing. So it's just something to keep in mind that like, if you're buying these right now and you're like, I want to use this dongle with my PC and then use the multi-point connection to the to my phone. Do you have a S25 Ultra and or starting next? I shouldn't say S25 Ultra. Like that for sure has it, but like S25 series, or by the end of this current month, because my God, I already freaked out because I didn't realize I had a meeting that got scheduled today and it was in March, and I'm like, fuck, the month's done. This year's going bloody quick. Like really freaking quick. If you have, supposedly by the end of February, I haven't seen it yet, the S24 series will be getting support for LE audio with LC3 as well. And so should the Pixel 9, but only on beta Android, like the beta of the next version of Android. I cannot run that generally due to work. I can't run the beta versions. It breaks stuff, you know, like the ability for you to connect to their stuff and manage them, because there's like version management and stuff like that, and generally you can't be on like rooted versions or beta versions or you name it. So I can't do that. I'll have to wait for the full release. Like once the Pixel 9 gets Pixel 9 series gets Android 16. Yeah, I think because it's on 16 beta or whatever is when they would be getting support for these without the dongle. You know, like native Bluetooth LE audio LC3 support is coming. So one thing that you may notice is these look pretty big. They're actually not. Let me grab the AirPod Pros and AirPod Pro 2s are basically the same. If I pull these out, the phone wants to connect to it. So these look kind of thick and chonk. They're kind of not. They look like alone here. They look kind of thick and chonk, right? And then you go this way, and they look kind of deep, and they are a little bit. But once you compare them to like an AirPod Pro, they're not actually all that much bigger. Like they're kind of like an obese AirPod Pro. Theoretically, that is due to the double the battery life in here. And I mean, like I've used them I charged them once, used them for an entire week. Like charged the case once. So, you know, like ergonomically, and these do have more of a standard style ear tip in there compared to like the AirPods one that kind of just seals your ear. But because of how these fit very loosely in your ear, they don't like jam in there like an earplug sort of thing. For me, at least with, I should mention, the Inzone buds do have noise canceling. I didn't realize that when I bought them. So I was very confused when I stuck them in my ear and they were all noise canceling. What that does allow me to do, because as I've said better, like what helps with these IEM style that really do seal kind of like an earplug is pass-through. So I enable pass-through on these, and good to go. You can see it is a little bit angled this way. So whereas this kind of like would have sealed starting here, right? Like it would have, the AirPod would have started sealing kind of right after this piece is. So this sits in your ear much like an AirPod up until this point, right? Like right on that lip. If we look at that, and the AirPod would have just used the foam to seal around the bigger part of your ear. That's why the opening's bigger, right? Pretty comfortable. I actually quite like them. This sits in your ear, kind of very similar to AirPod, but then this piece just pokes in further. But because they fit very loosely, kind of like an AirPod Pro would, I have no problems with them. Whereas I do have, like, I tried some XM2s, maybe also XM3s. You gotta remember. I remember the XM1s. Those things were massive physically, and the case was just ginormous. I worked at worked for Geek Squad, which is inside of Best Buys. So you see all that shit as it comes in. You know what I mean? And those I couldn't jive with because you had to jam them in there, and there was all this weight. These, you can see how waxy my ears are. By the way, there's already buildup like around this outer part. And yes, I clean my ears once, sometimes twice. I have, for those that don't know, like there is a difference between like wet and dry earwax. I have very wet earwax. So let's see here. I don't know if you guys can see it from the front, but it just looks like having little things here. What these bigger, those are the mics right there, right? Theoretically, because they're just a much bigger hole than something like an AirPod, which it's just on, I don't even know if it's on the stem technically. I think it's this outer part. So I don't see any like pinprick holes in here. But the AirPods do, if this is the mic over there, that's actually a decently sized. A lot of the earbud mics are much smaller. They're just like little pin pricks like this guy, just a little, like, you know, bigger than a. So obviously, the smaller the hole, the smaller the diaphragm. Bigger hole, bigger diaphragm. Apparently, the volume on these, even 100%, you do sound a little bit lower volume than, say, if you took the same mic and put it like right here, where you're talking right into it. The one thing that I have heard people say is that you do sound distant, and that's just, here's your, you know, here's your mouth here, and there's the microphone over here. So you're literally like, in my hand, you know, a hang 10 away from the microphone, and it's not in the good way. If you were using a standard, not a dynamic mic, but a I was gonna say compensator mic. Brain is farting, but you know, for a dynamic mic like this guy, you know, you want to be like, you really want to be like right up, like almost rubbing it. That thing's dusty just because nobody plays video games with it anymore. Womp womp. People wonder why I don't use that for work. That would just get bloody annoying. Cardioid. Oh, not cardioid mic, but cardioid pattern mic. You know, give me a second here. Give me a second. Is the monitor not waking up? No, it's back. Dynamic versus condenser. There we go. Condenser mics. I mean, both of them generally have cardioid pickup patterns. But you know, like, so for a condenser mic, you generally want to be like this far away from the mic when speaking into it. Dynamic mic, because and those would generally have to be phantom powered, you know, 48 volt or powered in some way, whereas a dynamic mic doesn't. Not to the same degree by any means. That's also why people have needed, like, well, actually not even to the same degree by any means, but there's just not at all, basically. That's why people have needed stuff like cloud lifters and like heavy amplifiers, because there isn't, like, they're not a powered mic versus a condenser. And that is also why you have to really get up on them, but that's also why they cut out, like, you get that radio talk show style, and they actually, like, cut out a bunch of ambient noise, is because a lot of people, when they set up condenser mic, they'll be like here, right? I'm here, and they'll put it like here. You still want that condenser mic as close to your mouth as you can get within reason, you know, like about yay far away. So that's why putting it, like, instead of having this wrist right here when you're gaming, you might be able to have a mic stand come up right here, and that's way closer than over there. Your amount of gain you're going to need to be over there is redonkulous, right? Well, it's even more the case here, because these require so much amping to even or power to get them to be, like, responsive and picking up with the dynamic mic. You have to, like, you need much more to move the diaphragm in there, right, and have it picked up. That's like cut out more noise in the background, is because their pickup pattern is different, for one thing, but also they require just so much more force from you talking to do it, because they're not a actively powered microphone. I mean, this one is, because it's got USB and there's electronics in there. But if you did the XLR down here, it does not require phantom power. So that gets down to, like, yeah, it's this far away from your mouth, but, you know, a proper condenser mic is this far away from your mouth in front of it, not behind it. So apparently I sound like people who are used to my mod mic, which sounds like good. Here, let's see if we can get, I don't know if you can see my ear or not, but for me, these fit in here. They do seal it, like, it actually makes like a little, like, I can feel the pressure differential with them in there. Like, it does properly seal. If I yanked it real hard, I could probably pop my eardrum. Don't do that, bad. So like they are sealing properly, but I don't have the same issue, and I almost feel like it's because there's more plastic to them. It's sitting on the plastic here, which is hooked in my ear, um, rather than like relying on it being jammed in your ear to support itself. Like that being it's kind of like different headphones wear, but these for me fit very comfortably, which I was worried about because they were more of an in-ear type compared to the AirPod Pros, and that's part of the reason why I could get away with the AirPod Pros because it's like not really an in-ear; it's kind of more of like a sealed earbud. Would be a way for me to describe the AirPod Pro. Um, but yeah, so you might get complaints, but that was going from a mod mic wireless, which is right in front of my mouth here. I have the volume for that thing dialed in, like it literally sits like right there. So I could get it closer technically, but my beard can rub depending on how long it is. But I'm talking maybe not right into it, but right past it because you don't always want to talk right into a mic because of the P's and whatnot. But for like a mic out of a headset, you want it right at the corner of your mouth, basically talking past it. Like you're pushing air and everything out this way, and the mic is right off, like right at that corner of the mouth. That's where you want it, and that's where it is. And because it's using aptX HD, like it sounds. So I think more of the issue with this mic quality, from at least what I heard recording it in Audacity on the work laptop, because that's all I just happen to have. Um, it sounded like decent to me compared to like a normal, like AirPod or Link Bud style thing. Um, I guess the volume did sound a little bit low, but apparently, like the big thing that people are complaining is that you're far away. And working with Squeers, he had no problem with it. He's like, yeah, I thought you actually sounded pretty good. But I did sound different than when a lot of my other team members sound me because I know or sound me, hear me because I've used the mod mic wireless for so long, and some are like, oh, you gotta go back, you sound like ass, and they're giving me crap, and I'm like, well, I don't use these all the time. If you guys are wondering, what these are more for is if I want to be more mobile. Like say if I'm working and I'm keeping tabs on something, or I need to be on a call but I want to be doing something else, like grab a drink, stuff like that. um, I've got them. And I can kind of like get up and walk around, or like at work too. I have a standing desk, and I do regularly, especially like earlier in the day. I start standing, and then I kind of move to sitting. A lot of earlier in the day too, because I start later in the day. Those are meetings. Not a bad time to use something like this. You know what I mean? Um, and to be truthful, I'm trying to comply tips. I bought those like a week into it because I didn't know if I would like the earbuds. I've now basically decided I can wear these for a whole day without any sort of comfort issues, like full 8 hours. I still don't like the fact that I still get a little meh, 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 even with the pass through, because they do like, I don't know, you probably can't hear it because my eardrum going pop. Whereas something like the AirPod Pro is not sealing nearly as well, um, which has its benefits and it's like stuff like that. So I do feel like more stuffed up, and I'm regularly like sinusy stuffed up due to allergies and other stuff. So but it is not like, I mean, if I switch it over to like ANC mode, I feel like this ANC is a little bit oppressive compared to Apple's. It cuts out a heck of a lot though. Um, so to each their own. Like these are not the reason why I'm not bummed that these don't have, like, oh, it's not an XM5, it doesn't have LDAC and aptX and all that sort of stuff. It's because my main use for them is going to be work laptop in calls, and then these do have both a chat mode that emphasizes voices and makes that easier to hear, and then they have a separate, like, that would be your, because it's the LC3 codec, right? They have just a mic and then a chat, and I believe those are both 48 kilobit, I want to say, which is like, that's standard. Like most audio sources don't go over, that's like DVD quality, let's say. It's higher than CD quality, bitrate wise, or not bit depth. No, that'd be bit depth. Kilohertz, which would be, what is that? 48. I'm trying to. My brain is, once again, we're getting late here. 2:39. This video has gone on a lot longer than intended. Sampling rate, not bit rate. Bit rate is kbps per second or megabits per second. Then you got your bit depth, which is like, 8, 16, 24, 32, or 1 if you're doing DSD. In this case, 48 kilohertz is, it's your sampling rate. So these are using, like DVD quality sampling rate, 48 kilohertz, both on the chat feed, which emphasizes, is actually tuned to emphasize like voices and that sort of stuff, and then the mic input, which is much better than your standard Bluetooth headset mode, which I don't remember if it's half that, I think, if not worse. And then it's high res compatible. I don't know if it's technically lossless, but because there's stuff like Opus, which theoretically for the human voice at 160 kilobits per second should be audibly lossless, but not bit lossless. That's for the human voice, but that, if you guys are running Opus, is what YouTube uses. I used to use it on my phone, but Opus has built into it automatic audio leveling, but that works much worse than something like can't remember the thing, we've talked about it before. Let's see here. What is that audio? Replay gain. That's what it's called. So apparently Opus has its own replay gain thing built in. It must not work that well though, because YouTube at one point, because YouTubers don't stand. If you guys have noticed, YouTube videos getting closer together on audio volume, you don't have to change the volume for your computer or your headphones or your TV, all that. Often YouTube actually within the last year started actually volume leveling their no matter what, within reason, what you send them gets audio leveled, and that's what replay gain does to music. You can do it on a track basis, an album basis. I normally do it on track because then I shuffle. Then when you go from prog rock to jazz, it's not this jarring thing because I have punk rock, which is normally, or punk or garage rock, that's that's 100% volume to the max. The different mastering levels, it's not affected as much. Opus has it in there. It works like crap compared to replay gain. So I do now what Apple considers human audibly lossless, which is 256 kilobit AAC, which is still smaller than 320 kilobit MP3. It does that sort of audio leveling. Supposedly the chat one, with the USB dongle in here, this shows up as a chat and a game. If you want to play back media, and Windows does it correctly, this shit works out of the box. I don't think it downloaded drivers. If it did, it was just automatic through Windows Update. Anything that's a standard USB audio device below 2496 and below should just work. Those do have spatial audio. In the PS5 mode, they work. The PS5 does the spatial audio. By default on PC, it's done on the PC. But what you can do, there is an Inzone app that's in the App Store, and that will actually make it so that you're not doing the poor kind of spatial audio. And what I mean by poor kind is they take 2-channel and they try and make it spatial, right?
which oddly has worked pretty well. I think it was Bad Seed Tech that said that like back with Modern Warfare 3, he was getting pretty good results with the Atmos for headphones. Um, I would say it sounds much better with that. Now with Black Ops 6, they actually like built in spatial audio to the point where like you can pay like I think it's a monthly subscription. If it was like a one time to map, I think I would have done it by now to get that better quality, because the Atmos for headphone definitely actually made a difference in my Modern Warfare 3 play and how the game sounded. And we have a kitten because she's like, why aren't we watching anime tonight yet? But what these can do with the USB, once you install the dongle into the PC and you have the store app for the Inzone, I think it's like Inzone Hub or something, they'll show up to Windows as a 5.1 audio device. So what you can do then is the games that don't support spatial audio within the game, you can just tell them you have surround sound, and the Inzone Hub app works with the dongle and actually does the spatial audio, which is super cool. I haven't seen that since like Creative did it. And that's back when it would show up to Windows, like my Creative ZX or ZXR. Squares had it for a while. It would actually show up to Windows as a 5.1 audio source, even though it was only a dual channel amp. And then its audio processor, which is fairly uncommon, not like it actually had like some processing there, in there, and would actually do the true spatial. It's not like whereas a lot of around then, like you'd get 7.1 HyperX Cloud 2s. They weren't actually, because if you looked how it showed up to Windows, it showed up as 2-channel, and they try to upsample to make it 7.1. Or nowadays you hear spatial audio. And to be truthful, the Atmos stuff, and I also bought the DTS. Wait for it to be. There's like random store sales that Microsoft will put on where you just get a discount on every app. That's when I picked up. I already had the Atmos when because I picked it up once. Bad Seed had recommended it, and I'm like, I wonder how that is, because I already have Atmos, and I'd already bought the app, so I'd already owned it. You can do like a 7-day trial, I think, but because of the home theater, I had it already. Like I had paid for it ages ago, because of Atmos for home theater and stuff like that. So I already had the app. I already had the codec. But I did buy the DTS, and depending on what game you're paying, like back in the day, back in the DVD era, and Laserdisc era too, DTS was significantly better quality than Adobe. Once it hit True HD, and we're talking full lossless, and the only difference is like number of channels. Then we hit like Master HD and Atmos, where like there aren't even channels. Like you have spatial objects, and it down samples to however many channels like your headphones have, or like it can even, if you combine the Sony 360 thing with the Atmos decoder on your phone, like it just does direct spatial audio to your device. Stuff like it gets crazy. But the fact that these through the Inzone app can do the classic, because it is they've aimed it at PC gaming. They know that unless you're running the latest titles, it's not going to have spatial audio support natively. So 2 channels isn't going to be enough. What you can do is go in these older apps and tell them you're using surround sound, because it shows up to Windows as surround sound once you have that app. And they'll do the processing and make it spatial audio for you. It might be a little bit, like the tuning on a 7.1 is a bit different than a spatial. I haven't used it yet. These were not bought for gaming. It just turns out, once again, like I did a recent build, and it turns out, you guys gotta remember, a gaming PC is a good CAD PC, is a good video editing PC, is a good photo editing PC, it's a powerful PC. A powerful PC can do all of these things. Same thing. It's something that's good for PC gaming because it's got a dongle and it has good mics for chat audio, etc., is gonna be a good audio conferencing solution, and good and fast. That's the big thing. Plop the dongle in, whether or not it's over here into USB-C on the front of my dock, or straight into the side on my laptops, because I could do it on my Surface if I need to use them personally, because I've had to do calls with family, friends, or if I'm doing some remote support like through AnyDesk for um, friends or family friends and that sort of stuff, or just like calls. This will even be more useful once they do have like I can pair them to my phone and stuff like that. But that's not what they were intended for. So if you do want to use it that way, make sure your phone is getting like you probably definitely already have Bluetooth LE support. Your hardware may not have LE audio support, may or may not. May or may not have LC3 codec support. Then you have to add on there. If it does your OS has your operating system on your phone or other device actually been updated to support it? Which, I went into with the whole Wi-Fi 7 thing. The hardware was here, and I'd rather it be there long before. Not long before, but like the software and even firmware. So it's the software for the hardware wasn't ready yet. It came like kind of like all at once, but even then, kind of not there. But it wasn't draft, because they're really trying to avoid that whole draft N for those that were around in, once again that Windows Vista era when wireless N came out. It came out as draft N for like years before it was N, and like they're like, oh, this is totally like the hardware. This is like we built it off the draft spec, but then it ended up not being the same. And yeah, so at least they're avoiding that, I guess. But it does seem to be lately like we're on this crunch of suddenly there's this new hardware that supports it. They're advertising it, but you like can't actually use it, and you're needing day one DLC for your brand new earbuds to work with your phone. What's crazy though, like I said, is that these first gen Link Buds were firmware updated to support things that they did not support when new. They never said they would support them, and they do now. Like the multi-point Bluetooth and I don't even remember what all the features were, but like they have spatial audio. I don't know if they did originally or not. But like this stuff can now just be like, oh yeah, because they use like our generic, like this is what I brought this up probably in another video. Like Sony really should, and they kind of did with this. They use the same driver in here as the XM5s. Why they didn't use the same firmware or like same Bluetooth controller? Because you would think if this has got the driver in there and it has the same hardware internally as an XM5, why can't it do these older Bluetooth protocols? Now maybe they're really going for that 12-hour battery life, like because they're chunky. You guys saw them; they're chunky. Maybe they need to cut out the cruft, like as in since LC3 is going to be the new Bluetooth standard, like and Bluetooth LE with LE audio is the new way that everything is going to interface audio wise with Bluetooth. Like we're finally going to get rid of SBC, right? And kind of like Windows 11, they're starting to cut out this stuff that's like there are features now that have been defaulted and removed so you can't move them default that were introduced in Windows 2000 or Windows 8. And we're finally now forcing people to use those settings. You guys are wondering, like, all these security settings, they're actually not all that new. Like, they've been around. A lot of these ones that are, like, being forced with Windows 11 have been around since at least Windows 8 in most cases. They just haven't been, like Microsoft would turn them on by default, but like if you're in a corporate environment or even like a small business environment where it's off, it'll just turn itself off automatically too to work for compatibility purposes. And they're finally saying no. And it does seem like a bit that is what Sony is going with these Inzone buds, where they're like, in order to get the thing that we say you're going to get, you just have to only use the new stuff. Even though, like I said, like even my brand new latest gen Pixel currently could not pair up to them without using that dongle. And if you had unless you had the latest S25 Ultra, it wouldn't either. That should be coming soon, TM. I read a blog post about that stuff. Like It's coming. It's just not here right now. And if you have these right now, that kind of sucks. And technically, you could have had these in October of last year. But like, you're probably not buying these to be using on Bluetooth because you bought them for the dongle. It's just interesting that do these have a different chipset? Why can't they support the old stuff? It is kind of interesting that things are finally with Bluetooth, because it used to be like everything sounded like shit on Bluetooth because we've been using the same Bluetooth 2.0 codec since time immemorial. Like my car from 2015, my Mini Cooper, uses the same in-car Bluetooth audio as like a 2002 Mini Cooper. Like, legitimately. And for taking calls on Android Auto, you're still using that same Bluetooth. If you get the AirPods, either of those two, into the hands-free, like they call it, like like hands-free mode, or as AG assist mode. They got a couple different names for it. That's the same crappy Bluetooth since we've had Bluetooth headsets. First thing was keyboards and mice. Pretty soon after that, we had Bluetooth headsets. Think about it. The original iPhone shipped with its own little, like, that was like the first time there was like, that thing was amazing, by the way. Loved that. That was like one of the best things about the launch iPhone, was that little Bluetooth earbud that you could actually charge in the 30-pin cable that charged the phone. That thing was actually super good. That was like one of the things I picked that up with the phone right away, because that was like, this is, because Bluetooth audio back then, I don't even know if the Jabra would have been out then. Like, that would have been one of the first like mic audio canceling Bluetooths that would have been sold to you with your Motorola Razr. I think that would have probably been out by then. But like, think about the age stuff we're having. Like, that's the same tech until this LC3, Bluetooth LE Auto LC3 codec. We're finally getting there. Like, Bluetooth audio has been basically shit, especially when it comes to the mic, and with with the Corona Chan happening. Like, I think that made a lot of these and like things realize how poor quality Bluetooth audio was. And with these truly wireless earbuds, a lot of this you didn't happen in it because you just have a wired headset, or you'd use something proprietary like a Plantronics that they're using, like some, maybe it's 2.4 gigahertz, maybe it's 900 megahertz, maybe it's whatever. It's just a proprietary connection to the dock, and then it's hardwired into whatever you're doing. Whereas nowadays they want to be able to do, like the newer Poly stuff has like a little USB dongle that kind of looks like a little bit bigger than a Logitech Universal dongle, Logibolt dongle. Not too different from this actually, except it would be USB-A on there, and it's got like a much more visible light. So if you're in a call and stuff like that, you can still get the docks that interface and whatnot, from the older stuff if you have that. But a lot of it's like Teams native, like they're like getting Teams certified. The Poly goes right in there without an app, because it just, like, there's protocols between these different pieces of software and stuff. We're finally actually seeing that with like generalized Bluetooth audio for these buds, and I really do think the quality of playback of these is more than adequate. I would say your general person out there would say that these sound good. Like, good as in like fine, like good as in pleasing. They still sound like Bluetooth fully wireless earbuds. They're also tuned in a way, I think they sound better than AirPods Pro, but if you look at their like tuning and their graphs, they're very much tuned for certain, like, to be more pleasing, to be more whatever. They're not a pair of Audio Technica R70 XAs, right?
They're not that. You know, they may have spatial audio, but they're not a pair of Sony MV1s, which are right there, right? They're not a pair of Sony M1STs or, you know, your Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro X's. You know, they're not. They're still, you know, like there's only so much you can do with a fully wireless earbud in this small of a package, especially when you're aiming for 12 hours of battery life, which is crazy. I will say the for day-to-day use, I prefer Sony's because this is still touch, right? Whereas I prefer Apple's, where it's the pinch. The pinch just works so much better. These have like a touchy slidey thing, right? One nice thing that you can do with these that you can't do with, at least in Android or Windows, with AirPods. I don't know if you can do it with these Link Buds. But because this is designed with the USB dongle, they know you're using it for voice chat. In this game, it might be meant for Discord and or video games on your PS5. But you can hardware mute the mic. You just hold it down on this ear, right? It mutes it. This, I believe, tap, 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 tap is down. I might be wrong. Hold is up. They're just touch sensitive. It's not swiping. That's kind of a bummer because it would be kind of nice if they were touch sensitive and you could just go up, 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 up for up and down, 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 down for down. But no, it's like more like touch, as in like beep, and you wait for it. You hold this one to mic mute, and then tapping this side is all of the you know, are you using noise canceling? And it cycles. That is one complaint I've seen, and I agree with, is it's kind of hard to differentiate between noise canceling, pass through, and they do have natively. That's something that Apple doesn't have. They cycle to nothing, like as in it's just earbud, like your physical noise canceling, instead of your you know, like your software noise canceling. So let me know what you think. They do have white ones. I have those heinous white headphones over there that I really need to do some vinyl wrap around the top and make them black. I think I have some extra back there that I just need to try to do, or order a new roll of matte black and let them rip. Because on your head, when you're in a meeting for work, that white halo, I understand Sony wants to match their PS5. Your PS5 looks dumb too, okay? Like, I know it's growing on some people because, like, oh, it looks like a PS5. I don't want a PS5 on my head. To be truthful, I would probably use those more if I would just resolve that. Yeah. But, so I'm glad with the Inzone buds. I know a lot of the early Inzone stuff had to be white to match that PS5 aesthetic. I think they realized after the first round that, hey, we can make the white ones to get that, like, so it looks like PlayStation, so people know that. But just make black ones available. I know their headsets, I believe, went to both. Like the main one that they advertise is like the white one, but you can buy the black one. I think these took a little bit, in the black took a little bit longer to ship than the white, because the white's like the go-to that they stock. Like it wasn't in, like I was gonna buy these from GameStop because I had a $50 left on a gift card. The GameStop would have had the white ones in stock, whereas the black ones would have had to ship. You know, stuff like that. So let me know what you guys think. Would this be a pair that you would consider, or what are you looking for in fully wireless buds? Realistically, we here's the thing I totally forgot. Also, why is Bluetooth LE important, or technically LE audio and LC3? The US passed something that says that all hearing aids need to have Bluetooth LE support, which then inherently basically means LC3. Because I don't know if there are other Bluetooth LE codecs out there, but that is like the main one that is getting pushed with Bluetooth LE now. Let's see here. Hearing aid. Require Bluetooth. Well, hearing aids with Bluetooth, pros and cons. Hearing aid require Bluetooth by U.S. government. There you go. In this document, federal FCC, this is before Trump was back in office, adopts 100% hearing aid compatibility requirement, all future wireless handset models, including Bluetooth coupling. So that is also part of what allowed the AirPods to, I think you have to have the USB-C ones. I might be wrong. But, like these guys right here, except USB-C variant, to become, here you go, hearing aids. And if you're wondering why Bluetooth LE, well, hearing aids need to be on all day, and you wear them all day, and they use those little tiny batteries, right? The little tiny hearing aid batteries, for those that haven't worked in retail before, especially in either an electronics department or an electronics company. You sell them. Everybody sells them, and there's like a jillion different versions. So, yeah, they need to be low energy. So putting normal Bluetooth in hearing aids. So hearing aids, they were basically, FCC was waiting for Bluetooth LE, or sorry, technically that was been around for a long time, since 2010, but LE audio portion of Bluetooth LE was available, and now they made it all new models are required to have it, right? So that means why that's big is then you can just pair it to your phone without proprietary bullshit, and it'll work. Or pair it to your TV, because most smart TVs will output over Bluetooth. Then you don't need like it's called Hears. I'm trying to remember, but my grandma actually has like stuff for watching the TV. That kind of like, it's got a bendy thing, and it goes in her ears but it's like foam, so she can just kind of like pick it up, put it on, and watch the TV, etc. You don't need that anymore if you can just pair your hearing aids to the TV. Like, think about that. Then we ran into the thing with, my grandpa doesn't need it, so then we have to have it compatible, and then they're like, oh, well, we'll just make our soundbar. We make a soundbar now that is actually the dock and the sender for the headphones, which then also you can either mute the soundbar if he doesn't want to hear it, or vice versa. It's controlled via the soundbar effectively. Well, now you can do all this if everything is Bluetooth LE and your TV's Bluetooth LE, and you have hearing aids that are Bluetooth LE. Like, it's all crossed the line. But that is why they waited for LE audio, is because hearing aids have those little tiny batteries in them, and you're gonna blow through those. Like, think about standard AirPods. What is it? I think it's like 5.5 hours max or something like that. Or original AirPods Pros. I was talking about AirPod Pro 2s are like 5.5 hours, I think. The original ones are like 3, right? Now imagine little tiny batteries in there. That's probably the reason why the Inzone can do 12, is because it's using the LE audio part. So that's a big thing with hearing aids, is that LE audio. The other way too, though, is that is requiring Bluetooth is part of what allowed these guys, the AirPod Pro 2s, to become hearing aids. That also leads credence to that chipset has Bluetooth LE support. So should iPhones. So theoretically, with a firmware update, you can get LE audio and LE audio support both on the iPhone and the AirPod Pro to USB-C or normal. I'm not sure which, and or possibly the normal Pro 2s, not just the USB-C ones. They would work with LE audio. You just immediately get a increase in the audio quality. They kind of already did that with the USB-C variant.
of the AirPods Pro. Like if you run it a certain way, you can do, I forget specifically what on it, but it's much better quality. That came out with like the Vision Pro and stuff like that. So here's another thing that is interesting. If you look here, when did this happen? October. When did these come out with LC3 audio? October. It's almost like they came out with LC3 with LE audio, you know, like once that was standardized, released to the public and actually available in products, and then once that happened, it was ratified by the FTC mandating that hearing aids had it. I do think it's funny, and this also proves how shit Google's getting lately, that I had to be hearing aids require Bluetooth, and that was like, oh, they, you know, like, no, they don't have to have it. That's a feature of the blah, 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 blah. And if I add by the U.S. government, then they're like, oh, yeah, that happened. So I don't know if that's the shitty AI in there, or that's, you know, big hearing aid, like, you know, oh, that's not a feature you need. When in actuality, as of last October, any new models brought to market have to have that feature, which is a thing that, like, if you already have hearing aids, what do? Take them out and put in earbuds? You already got electronics in or on your head, you know. So this is another good thing. Like FCC and FTC towards the end of the last year, 2024. I mean, all last year, realistically, they were going friggin' gangbusters. And that's one of the great things, that just one of many of the great things that got pushed out there. Now, I don't think they pushed back on this. They might have, because remember, agencies can't make rules if it's not, said they can make that rule in law. Blah, 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 blah. And in many cases, in FTC and FCC stuff, it's been pushed back on, and they've gotten it overturned in courts because of the ruling done by the Supreme Court. So, theoretically, I guess they could flip this, because this is done in October, and that was done after that ruling. I don't know if they have some sturdier legs to stand on. Where if these hearing aid companies and or phone companies not wanting to support hearing aids, etc. Now many phones can only connect directly to hearing aids via proprietary stuff. Yep, exactly. So we're trying to basically democratize hearing aids connecting to other things now, because we have these things over here that are effectively kind of shite hearing aids. But they're not too much different. They got a mic, they got speakers, and they're wireless. So like theoretically that could be overturned, but I don't know. I didn't see anything regarding that, compared to some of the other stuff. When they were trying to redo net neutrality and all that sort of stuff. But that the ruling by the Supreme Court has really thrown a hitch in there, because like even stuff like this, where FCC's like, oh, yes, it all must support it. Technically, that wasn't passed as a law, and rules don't have the same effect they used to. Can they even make them anymore? Were they given the power to do that? Sigh. Like, why even have the agency in the first place then? And yes, I understand the whole other argument, which is agencies shouldn't be able to make rules that are effectively laws. Well, then you should have told your lawmakers they shouldn't have given agencies that ability. And to make a law about that if they didn't think that should be that way. Rather than overturning a bunch, like 30 years of existing law. 30 plus years. I think it was like 35 or whatever. But hey, this is a good thing that came out of that. Hopefully that sticks. And it seems like right when that support came out, that was right when those came out, which were some of the first devices to support LC3. Comments, questions down below. We have a 2-hour video on little old batteries you should not eat. Definitely not the Sony Inzone buds, which so far I'm quite enjoying. They're not gonna blow your socks off, but if you have really specific uses like I do, these might be your perfect buds. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.